What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Are We Recording podcast. I'm your host, 007 Gage Sutton, alongside the other host of this show, the one and only, the young Rottweiler, Ethan
AKA,
Hamilton.
you gotta do it. I want to do all my other nicknames this episode.
All right,
AKA,
all right. The young Rottweiler, the 5'5" of pure temptation, the
Big
I don't
Sex.
know. Big sex. Really? Did
Big Sex.
we agreed on that one?
Yeah, like, cause you guys try to call me Little Sex. I said, no, I'm Big Sex. That's what they call me.
All right. I think that's kind of counterintuitive for you to be the 5'5" of pure temptation and big sex. But hey, you know what? Who am I to judge? You know, they're your nicknames. So, but anyway, welcome back to our recording. We really appreciate you joining in for us for another episode. Hey, if you're here already, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you like this video, even if you don't like the video. And you should go check out our last week's video where we talk a little bit about, hey, you should go check it out and see what we talk about.
Exactly. No spoilers around here.
No spoilers around here. But Ethan, how you doing, man? It's been a week since we recorded, and we're back at it.
No, we are. Honestly, bro, I'm excited to record. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. I'm all fresh up, all braided up, got my twists in. You know what I'm saying? I had my fro out all week. And I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, so I had a bunch of people constantly remind you, wow, your hair is cool. Your afro, wow. You should have it out more often. So I'm kind of glad that phase is over with. I can go back to regularly scheduled programming. She hooked me up, though.
Yeah, it looks good, dude.
Appreciate it, dog. What you been up to?
Man, I actually decided to try something new this week. I went to a pro wrestling school, and I'm seriously considering taking classes. As soon as I can figure out how to pay for it, I think I will be in pro
This is
wrestling
so
school.
on brand for you. I'm surprised you haven't done this sooner.
I know, me too, actually. I think the biggest thing was just first off, like the timing of it, you know, graduating school and trying to get a real job. I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm gonna become a wrestler, but now that I'm between jobs, went through my phase of depression of like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I decided, hey, let's go check out this pro wrestling school and see if it's for me. So I'm gonna go give it a try. My first
How does it work? Is it like tryouts, like basketball tryouts in middle school,
No.
or like how does it work?
No, so it's like a school basically. So you start like at the bottom level. They won't even let you get into the ring when you first start. It's about like conditioning, making sure that your body's ready for taking bumps. So I think the first few weeks will just be training, agility, stamina, that kind of stuff. And then once the conditioning coach sees that I'm in shape enough, that's when I can move into the ring, and that's when they'll teach me all of the basics. And then basically there are 4 rings in the facility, and each time that you advance a level, you get a new teacher and you learn something new and you move into a different ring. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, man. Like I said, just trying to figure out how to pay for it. But I think
That's
I will
always the
be
biggest
attending.
struggle when it comes to anything is like, oh, how do I pay for it? But I feel you. That's dope though. Have you ever thought of like what your wrestling name is gonna be? Like, do they give you wrestling names when you go in there, or they like, oh yeah, I'm just Gage?
No,
I
so
guess.
I'm just Gage right now. I think they're I don't think anyone told me their wrestler name. I just was meeting people and they were telling me their actual name. But I've thought about it a lot. If you have any suggestions for me in terms of wrestling names, hey, I would love
Gage
to hear them,
Mysterio.
Ethan.
Gage Mysterio is gonna be your wrestling name. That was already stuck with you.
Hey, the only problem with that is it's copyrighted, but I am thinking the luchador route is the way to go because I want to wear a mask. I think that would be really cool. And I think a name in Spanish too would work. I actually have come up with a few. What do you think of Príncipe Chaos, Prince Chaos?
Okay, it's okay.
Okay,
That's
okay. What
okay.
about
I gotta see if because I'm thinking of it from like the English perspective. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is that gonna stick? You know?
okay, okay.
So keep going, keep going.
All right, what about Prince Aztec? I'm going with the Prince kind of name for
No,
because it
I
works.
see the
It works
theme. I
both.
see the theme. What about Aztec Prince?
I don't think that works
Why
as
not?
well. Aztec Prince.
Okay,
Hey,
keep going.
hey, you know
Keep
what?
going.
Yeah, I'll keep going. This is another one. See, I'm thinking all in Spanish because I was thinking luchador, but if you've got it like a more Americanized name, leave them in
It's
the
got to be
comments.
Americanized. You want to be in AEW, you want to be in WWE. This is what we got to do here. I'm your Brandon.
All
I'm
right,
your
all
Al
right.
Heyman.
Hey, what about the Grand Immortal?
buddy,
No.
you're 5'7". The grand immortal's not gonna work. I'm sorry. Like I don't. It's not even no hate. I'm 5'5". You know what I'm saying? So it's not even no hate. Five
All right.
six if the host is watching. But but like
All
the
right.
grand
So
immortal.
hey, understandable. We'll workshop it, and that's why I'm here to talk to you about it. If you have any ideas and you have something that might fit my personality, like I said, leave it in the comments. But man, I have been thinking heavy about like what kind of moves I'll be doing, what like my style is going to be in the ring too. So I'm really excited.
The minute they
I
let you in the ring, they need to let Dylan or me or somebody come up in there and record. Yeah, I swear to God, we're gonna be laughing the entire time.
no, I'm actually really excited. I think I might have a knack for this, but we'll
Oh
revisit this.
God.
We'll revisit this conversation in a couple weeks and see how the progress is going. But there's a lot to talk about this week in the media realm in pop culture. So let's get started with our guy. Again, we talk about this guy every week on the podcast, it seems, and we're starting with Mr. Drizzy Drake because Drake this week was touring in Texas, and I know I had a couple friends who went to the concert, and all I got to say is I am super jealous because it seems like Drake puts on an awesome performance, and especially with the buildup for all the dogs coming up, I'm sure he was playing some classics and just going all out for his fans. So yeah, if you went to
No,
the
the
Drake
performance
show,
look.
I'm
Yeah,
very
shout out you.
jealous.
The show looked great. I saw Drake in Lollapalooza with Travis like in spring break. And the show was pretty good, but it's not like a Drake Center show because it's a festival, so his
Yeah.
set list is different. He went for like an hour and a half. In this show, he went for like 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. So, and he had 21 Savage open up for him and Sexy Red. So that's dope. But no, I saw a lot of friends. Ski, shake your dress, shake your dress. All right, let me chill, let me chill. No, but the show looked dope. The show looked dope, and I'm excited to hear the album. I'm surprised he is actually gonna drop it while he's still on tour. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm one of the fans that went to one of the earlier tour dates, I'd be kind of annoyed that he drops the album while he's on tour, but I missed it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I mean, when did they, or I guess when is the speculation that he's gonna drop it? Because
He
has
drops
he
next weekend on this. Like when this episode drops, it's gonna drop this week, so the 22nd.
okay, is it confirmed though? Did he put it
Yes.
out?
Yeah.
It's confirmed, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So see, that was the only thing was I wasn't sure that he was for sure gonna drop it because how much longer does the tour go? Do you know?
Till October.
Till
Because
October. So
he ends it in Toronto, like Oktoberfest, October very own. Huh? Huh?
yeah,
Huh?
see, that's what I was thinking is he is October's very own. The tour ends in October, and he already announced a new single. If you haven't checked out our TikTok or our Twitter, we posted about it. Drake and SZA coming out on Friday.
Yeah,
So
I'm actually
actually,
excited for that.
a couple of days before or after we record this, before we post it, and very excited for that. But that's kind of where I'm headed, where I think he's going to drop it in October. I think he's playing with us again. He's not going to drop it next week. He's going to wait until closer to the end of the tour. He's going to give us a couple tracks to just hold us, keep us waiting. And then I think we'll wait probably another month until October. Cause again, he is October's very own. And like you said, there is a lot of money to be made off this. And I think there would be a lot of people upset if he released the album still halfway through the tour.
I think he's gonna drop it next week. The only way I could see, because if he was gonna drop it in October, Drake doesn't need this like tug of war of like, will he drop, will he won't drop? Like he's the biggest artist in the world. He doesn't need to do that. Like he does not need to do that. But I could have saw before he announced his date that he drop it for Oktoberfest in Toronto. But now that he's gonna drop it, it seems like next weekend. I don't know. I feel like I can see why fans would be upset. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. But let's talk a little bit more about For All the Dogs because we mentioned this is a track coming out this week. I am so excited for that. I don't think we've heard Drake and SZA on a track together before, so this is going to be a new experience, and I'm expecting something very depressing, something very sad, and I'm here for it. And I'm
I
ready.
expect the exact opposite. I think we're gonna get some high energy stuff.
You think so?
Some high energy stuff. That's what I think. Because Lil Yachty, he's a rapper and a great songwriter in his own right, but he's basically become Drake's like
His
PR
hype man.
person.
Yeah,
His
his hype
hype
man.
man. He's basically Drake's hype man. He basically like in an interview whenever they were asking him his thoughts on For All the Dogs, he's been working on it and supposedly has a couple tracks on there. Is that it sounds very current, which made me think like, when has Drake not sound current? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Drake has always sound current with all his albums. They might have like a different mesh of genres, but it's never seemed like outdated. The only one maybe was Care Package, and I don't even count Care Package or Darkline demo tapes, those two, because they're like damn near EPs. There's like old songs that he's like, all right, just finish those up. He told to 40, hey, finish those up and release them whenever you want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that makes me wonder, like, what does he mean by current?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because doesn't that go against what Drake was saying when he said that this album is gonna be like, oh, you guys keep asking for the old Drake, I finally know what you meant. Like, doesn't this go against that?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I have been seeing what Yachty has been saying too, which, by the way, Yachty is one of my expected features on this album. We'll talk about some of the other ones, some of the other artists we expect to show up on For All the Dogs. But yeah, I was a little thrown off by Yachty's comment too, because Drake did say this was going to be a return to form. And this is kind of why I think the SZA track is going to be more of a ballad, slow, kind of wrench at your heart kind of song. But
I feel like that is a single. That's a single, like for an album cut, yeah, but as a single,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, you might be right. And I might be in the wrong here. I hope, regardless of what it is, we're going to get some fire. I'm sure of that, actually, that Drake and SZA are going to put out a very good song, whether it's slow, whether it's upbeat. I really do think they're going to do their thing, and I'm excited to hear what that's going to sound like. Another collab that has been confirmed on the album is Drake and Yeat. And
that beat on the for the Nocta trailer, that
crazy.
EP was insane.
Yeah, and this is my only thing about the Yeat feature that kind of worries me is Drake gonna almost like copy Yeat or like try to kind of steal his flow, because we've seen Drake kind of like do it
step into other people. We've seen Drake step into other people's world.
Yes,
and it work out. I think it works out. Like Drake's one of, I think, the better rappers at doing such.
Yeah, and do you think this will? I mean, obviously it's a Drake album. This could propel Yeat into like the mainstream, because I mean he has already been growing a lot, but getting that Drake stamp of approval will help his career go so much further than, I mean, he already is.
Yeah, I think it'll help him tremendously, because you got to think of too, like, what other possible features he might have on there. There's a song that he has with Uzi, Gates of Hell or Gates of Heaven, whatever it is. They're supposed to be on Uzi's last project, Eternal. Not Eternal Tape. What was the last project?
The Pink Tape.
Pink Tape that came and went, but it was supposed to be on there. It wasn't. And then you have him hanging around with Yachty and Central C. Like, the feature list is kind of like right before our very eyes, like SZA, Yeat, Uzi,
Yachty.
Central C, Yachty. That's very current. It's very current, like what the artist that's popping right now. Sexy Red. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Sexy Red track on there.
We get a Tizo touchdown feature on the Drake
I wouldn't be surprised either of that. So one thing I'm gonna ask you is, like, what is one thing you want to hear from the project?
Man, we've talked about it on the pod before. I would like to see Drake return to form in his rapping bag. I want him to, if it means taking some shots at other rappers, I'm all for it. But I really just want to hear Drake over maybe some 808, some old kind of like Nothing Was the Same sounding. If you're reading This Is Too Late, just with a little more aggressiveness, a little more like in those bars, a little more of that we've been missing from Drake in the last couple of years. And I mean, he mentioned it too, like you said, he wants to return to that old form. That's my favorite old form of Drake. As much as I love the slow ballad stuff from Take Care, I really think that Drake was at his best when he was rapping his ass off on Nothing Was the Same and If You're Reading This Is Too Late.
That's not a bad way to think of it. I think Drake is 10 times the rapper he once was. Like, songs by, like, even on like as far as rapping ability, even recent songs like Diplomatic Immunity,
yeah,
Sandra's Rose, like, that's the best version of Drake rapping. That's the best version.
And we've definitely seen a little bit of a return to it. I think Her Loss was one of my favorite Drake albums in years. and it was obviously a collab album with 21 Savage, but that was the sound I wanted to hear from Drake. Like, it started with, he had elements of the singing of the ballad stuff and a little bit of that, but there were moments on that album where I'm like, man, Drake really is like one of the best rappers alive, one of the best rappers, period.
No, I'm with you. The thing I most wanted to see is he finally has to take shots at Kendrick on this album. Like if he doesn't do it now, they're never gonna do it. Because I don't think out of the parties involved between him and Kendrick, I don't think Kendrick's gonna be the first one to jump out the window. I think it's obviously Aubrey's gonna be the first one to do it. And I expect him. We're gonna talk about it later in the show. The surface leak of the Kendrick Drake disc, as well as this in Big Sean J Electronica. But you don't think Drake heard that? You don't think Drake heard that? So I have no doubt that there's gonna be a sub. I just want it to be like an actual Drake, like say Kendrick's name in a song.
Yep.
That's the first thing I want to hear. I want to hear Drake jump out the window. Like, now's the time. Let's do it. Like, I'm ready for this. I've been pushing this agenda since the podcast has started, and I'm ready for it. Yeah, one thing for sure in the similar theme. Oh, you go. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, yeah, we have been talking about it for a long time. That you and me, we want this Kendrick Drake beef so bad because it's just been subliminals up to this point. But we want them to write their name next to it and say names. I want to hear Drake say the name Kendrick or K Dot or something on his album that is going to get this rap beef going. They don't actually have to hate each other. I'm sure there is definitely some animosity there, but it's just a return. For me personally, I just want that return to that old school hip hop beef. Just write some diss tracks. Even if you don't hate each other, just do it for the culture. We need it. And yeah, I think Kendrick definitely set the table, and we'll talk about it a little more, like you mentioned, with the Paramedic diss track. He definitely set the table for Drake to do it, and Drake should be the one to jump out the window, like you said.
No. In that theme, though, one thing that I absolutely do not want to hear anymore, I don't want to hear any Pusha T bars. I do not want to hear any. I'm so over that exchange between him and Pusha and him and Ye. That whole good music like, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to hear about it. Like, he's talked about it damn near every project since Scorpion. Like, we get shots on like a bunch of records. We got shots on Her Loss about it too. We got shots on the Travis Scott album on Meltdown. Like, I like the aggression, but like, I don't want to hear it with Pusha T anymore. Like, I'm over it. He obviously, for whatever reason, when it was time to go, he didn't want to go. Cool. You've dissed him 17 different times since Scorpion came out. Now, I'm not saying let it go. Like, I don't know these people, and you guys probably don't like each other. Who am I to tell someone stop not liking somebody? I'm not here to tell them to piece it out like Pharrell did and get dissed on a song. But at the same time, as far as music-wise, I don't care. I don't think his fans care. I don't think hip-hop fans care anymore about Drake versus Pusha.
Yeah, I agree. I think Pusha T's kind of done with it too, because Pusha T has been in the mouths of a lot of rappers lately, and he hasn't responded.
Yes, I think it's coming soon, but
it could be. But Pusha T doesn't have to. He's in that position where like he's already established himself as not only one of the best rappers ever, but as one of the guys that you don't want to go after in a diss because he is capable of ending your career or damn near close to it. So I see the logic behind it. I really do just want Drake, if he is going to do another diss, I want it to be towards Kendrick. And that's actually a perfect segue into our next topic. I want to talk about Kendrick Lamar and this Paramedic diss because first off, I want to talk about how everyone seems to think, and this is the problem with AI becoming so big now, everyone seemed to think that was fake. But it
didn't sound fake to me.
It didn't sound fake to me either. It didn't sound like something AI. It sounded like Kendrick just didn't want to put it on the Paramedic song to take away from SOB REX because I think they were.
Can we be honest?
Let's hear it.
What do you think about that diss?
I'm here for it. I think Kendrick could have been a little more specific about who he was talking about on that last part, because
He
everyone
was
seems
talking.
to think it's Drake, and I think it's Drake, but he didn't put a bullet on it.
Also, the lines were kind of soft. Like I thought the Big Sean diss was cool, but I think the Big Sean diss was kind of a play on what Drake said about Tiger. You remember the old diss line he had for Tiger, like um, don't act your girl's age or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was in that vein too. Like it was cool. Same with the J Electronica False Prophets line. The I know this is recent too because of the French Montana, like, oh, you don't have any more hits than me or something like that. But at the same time, I don't think this is AI, but at the same time, I don't know if it's real because this is Kendrick Lamar we're talking about. Someone that's uber secretive when it comes to his whole camp, when releasing music and getting music out, period. Leaks or nothing. You rarely hear that from them. That's not what they're known for. And so to have a record, a verse leak where he's dissing some of the biggest rappers in the world, some of them who will jump out the window and say something back. I don't know. That doesn't seem very calculated on his part.
I mean, when I look at it though, besides Drake, who again wasn't by name pointed out like some of the other guys who were mentioned, I just don't think it was worth the trouble for Kendrick because he dissed French Montana, which who the fuck cares about French Montana in the year 2023?
Yeah.
He dissed Jay Electronica, who, if you're not really a big hip hop fan, you don't know who he is. And I mean, has there been a lot of established beef between them before? Between Jay Electronica and Kendrick? Not that I know of.
I can't remember off the top of my head. No.
Yeah. And lastly, the only other one that I think probably like would have been the only reason for me personally to keep that verse in the song would have been because of the Big Sean diss, because that's something that had been building up for years.
And Big Sean when it jumped out the window and did diss him.
Yeah, he did.
No matter if he does interviews saying that them two didn't have a problem. Them two did have a problem with each other.
He literally has a song called "No More Interviews" where he talks about the whole like this. It's a whole Kendrick diss, and I don't think we ever got that back. Like, did Kendrick ever respond to that?
No, he didn't. I know a lot of people. I can't remember which one came out. The Heart Part 4 or that. I think Heart Part 4 came out before that. I think the
No More Interviews.
Yeah, I think Heart Part 4 came out before that. Search it up. Yeah, but the Heart Part 4 is one of my favorite Kendrick songs, and I think he's dissing Drake. I know a lot of people thought he was dissing Big Sean. He was dissing Drake up and all around that song. So I'm surprised that it came out like this.
The Heart Part 4 came out in 2017, and No More Interviews came out in
2018, right? It's got to be 2018.
2016.
Okay, so I was wrong. So I guess
it could have been a Big Sean diss, but I also see the logic behind thinking it's a Drake diss on the Heart Part 4 too. I'm not against that, but besides that, Kendrick has also been in the global media with a how do we say insensitive impersonation of him in Poland. And Jesus, I mean, I watched the video and I was like,
that's some of the best blackface I've ever seen done. A couple of those guys actually looked that for a second. I thought
that was not the way I thought you were going to describe it. The best blackface.
That was a good job because what's it called? That Kanye West impersonator that did the graduation. I for real thought that was Kanye. Because when someone said, when I saw the title that like, oh, Kanye's performing in Poland, doesn't that sound like something Kanye would do? Would just be like, all right, I'm gonna don my old graduation outfits and perform in Poland. And then I looked at, like, I zoomed in, and I said, wait a minute, that's not Kanye.
That's not Kanye.
And it's same with the Kendrick one. The Kendrick one looked insane. Like he was singing "Be Humble." Yep. And yeah, that was rough. And the Drake one didn't even look like that. That one looked like DJ Khaled. I don't know who signed off on that one to be Drake, but that should have been DJ Khaled.
Yeah, I mean, more importantly, who are the executives that signed off on this and were like, "Oh yeah, this is a good idea. Like, let's let this white kid from Poland, who I think he's like 19 or something, go out in blackface and perform a Kendrick Lamar song completely uncensored too. He was throwing around the N-word like he was Kendrick
Right.
Lamar. Like, dude, what are we doing?
But that's the thing though, is like I don't know, it's weird because I'm totally with you. Like blackface in general, especially here in America, is like a very big thing. But that's an American thing. Like blackface is an American thing. And I was listening to people speak about it, and some people prompted the idea of like they weren't as mad about it. I'm really not that mad. Nothing on the internet makes me fired up. But for the sake of we have a podcast, we have a show, we have listeners, I get why people see this as not like racist because Poland doesn't have the same relationship as blackface with blackface as us Americans do. You know what I'm saying? They might see it as like a costume. I'm not saying it's not like incredibly insensitive or tone deaf or it is racist, but it's like they don't have that relationship with that like action as we do. So I can see how they don't see it as they're being offensive.
I mean, I think you're on the right track, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that they know that it's not right. Like it shouldn't take away from
Do they
the fact
though?
that you can criticize it.
No, of course you criticize, but do they think it's right? Not right because you're it's the whole argument of like my culture does like this is offensive in my culture but not in yours. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay. I mean, I kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same
Even though
time,
how
like,
universal we see like racism is universal,
yeah,
but there's certain like nuances to it that I can see how somebody in Poland might not see blackface as racist. Not forgiving them, but it's like, oh, I can see why you don't think you're being offensive because that's not a thing you have. Poland doesn't have a lot of black people. Poland doesn't do
things are done
blackface.
differently there,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. Like that old like excuse that we have because you got to think here in America we do some things that might offend other countries not in the Western world. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, most certainly, yeah,
So does that apply the same way? Are we being prejudiced to them? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, you're right. It opens up a whole different discussion, honestly, about like these customs and what's acceptable in certain societies and what's not. But me personally, this is something that obviously would not slide in the United States. And I'm not surprised that it's getting a lot of coverage in the United States, or I guess it became such a big story in the United States because it is still kind of that, it is still taboo here. But I understand what you're saying that like in Poland, I guess they see it differently and they're just like, oh, well, you know, we're more so doing it out of like love and respect for the art. But I mean,
Yeah,
again,
just
we grew up with that history of like, okay, blackface is bad. Like even if you're trying to impersonate someone, you just don't do it. But hey,
did you do blackface that one time when you dressed up as a rock?
oh brother, don't
No,
do
that.
not throw me under the bus like this because that is not.
No, I'm playing. I'm playing. Listen, Gage did not do blackface as the Rock.
All right, cool.
He did it as Booker T.
As book. You're stupid. Hey, maybe that's my persona, and I get away with it in Japan or something. I don't know.
They probably would let you get away with that in Japan. But
uh,
but back to what you were talking about, like I find it weird that like if record labels must have had to sign off on this, right? Because they did
mm,
this on live television in another country. Like they must have had like the AOK from Universal and such to use the music.
do you need the AOK? Like, I don't know how that works. Do you need the AOK to perform? I guess so, because it's copyright.
Yeah, regardless if it's in another country or not.
That's interesting. That is really interesting. I didn't even think about that. That they would have to get the permission of Universal because it's a cover and it's still technically Kendrick Lamar's song. So, damn, huh?
I don't know. I'm not saying I don't know. They just add that to the list of shady stuff that
That record labels
rec-
will do to make a buck.
exactly. Because do I think they probably knew that this show was gonna do blackface? No, I don't think they did. But did I think they know that they were gonna use the music? Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's a weird line. How do you think Kendrick feels about it?
I don't think he's laughing his ass off right now.
No, you don't think so? You don't think
No.
Kendrick had a good laugh about it?
No, I think he is. You remember Mr. Morale? He was fucking white girls on tour. So I think he was. I think he was chilly. Yeah, I don't think the artist, like, not saying this is bro, this is incredibly racist from our perspective, but it's like I don't think he's losing sleep over some random 19-year-old white boy in Poland doing blackface singing humble. Same with Kanye, same with Drake.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure they have more important things to worry about. Uh, but let's talk about Stephen A. Smith, because Stephen A. Smith has been also in the media a lot. And if you don't know who Stephen A. Smith, one of the most popular sports personalities in the world, and
Probably
possibly
the
ever.
yeah,
Um, so if you're not familiar with his game, what are you doing? Do you watch sports? Why are you watching this podcast? Uh,
absolutely. And of recent months, Shannon Sharp just joined from neighboring Undisputed, and he's on First Take now. So it's kind of like two superpowers together. Like it's kind of like a dream team in a certain aspect of what we've always wanted to see. And he was on the Joe Budden podcast today, and they interviewed him, basically asking a bunch of questions about how he is and the drama surrounding him and just where his space is at. And how did he get guys like Shannon Sharp and Pat McAfee, and how did that work? And it was interesting him talking about what happened with Skip and Shannon, because he didn't tell the full story, but he definitely made it clear that, like, even though we all knew that Skip and Shannon probably aren't on the bestest of terms, and they left cordially, it looked like, Stephen A. quickly reminded Joe Budden and Cass that that wasn't the case. That he was kind of shoved out the door, fired for lack of a better term, which is interesting to me.
Shannon was
Because, yeah, he
really
let it be known that whenever Shannon's ready to talk about it, he can talk about it. But this assumption that we all had, because I had the assumption too that Shannon was just fed up with Skip and just left. But
yeah.
that wasn't the
That's
case.
that's what I
He
thought
was
too.
he was kind of pushed out by the higher ups, whether it be Skip included. But I think we can kind of all, put one and one together.
That's interesting, and that's actually really crazy because I know that obviously Stephen A. and Skip were on the same show because when they first started doing First Take, it was Skip and Stephen A. So did he divulge into like his experiences with Skip Bayless and I guess how their relationship kind of?
No, but he always keeps it like a buck when it comes to Skip. Like he says he admires and respects him for giving him his chance, but at the end of the day, they're competitors now.
Yeah.
You know, and he doesn't want to settle for to being second best. He wants to be the best, which I always wondered too, because the past couple months too, he's been like kind of sub dissing Skip when it comes to like posting ratings, saying that he's better than Skip and all this stuff. Because for the longest time, them two, even after the breakup, never talked about each other
Yeah.
on the public like sphere, never. And now it seems like in the past year and a half, with this whole Shannon drama, they've been subtly, or Stephen A. has been subtly taking shots at him.
Well, I think it comes with the territory because when you are paired up with Shannon, who is one of the most popular and, in my opinion, one of my favorite sports personalities on TV right now, and when he's accidentally calling you Skip Bayless on live television, I would understand. Stephen A. wants to be separated from this and be like, no, I'm the top dog. There was a reason why Shannon came to my show. I mean, besides now the new information that he was kicked out from FS1, um, Stephen A. wants to establish that there's a reason why Shannon didn't start his own podcast. He didn't go somewhere else. He came here, and it was because he wanted to work with me, and he wanted to work with First Take. And I see it. I definitely understand where Stephen A is coming from, and I understand that ego part of it, of wanting to be the best and wanting to separate yourself from your past and Skip Bayless and from the comparisons that come with the territory.
And I think that that leads into him talking about Max and what happened with him and Max Kellerman, who was the previous co-host on there. And he talked about how, plain and simple, he just didn't like working with Max. Like, he did not work with Max.
Wow.
He felt like they very much like flatlined and sort of cliffed off what they once were. And you got to think, whenever he was there with Max, which was like Max left like 2 years ago, right? It's been a
Yeah,
minute.
it's been a minute since
That's
Max
like
left.
a year or two, a year and a half, 2 years ago after COVID. And that was when the height of Undisputed, the height. And he talks about he was feeling the pressure of the competitors and how he did not want to be number two. And he tried to work with Max Kellerman on how they could get back to being number one or how they can be the best. And he very much alluded that like it just wasn't going to work, the two of them. Like he doesn't have any malice towards Max, but you can very much tell that there's no love lost. Like he's like,
Yeah.
I've never talked to him since that day, since he left. Like I'll say what's up to him in the hallway, but that's about it. Like we're not boys.
See, and that's the hard thing about this business is like Stephen A has to do what's best for his career, and at times it means having to kind of knock someone else off, or I guess like just tell it how it is. If their chemistry isn't good and Stephen A knows it and he wants to be competing, that's the decision you
That's
got to
a
make,
tough
and
thing,
it's not
but
easy.
because he also talks about too, like how he tried to work with Max and it just wasn't working because from the perspective of like Max isn't a journalist. He's also not a former athlete. So Stephen A felt as if, based on the data that he was shown, that they were losing credibility. Max was, and he was basically carrying the credibility of the entire show
Yeah.
because Stephen A is a former journalist and Max isn't.
Yeah.
And so one day when after they tried like on one-on-ones and all this type of stuff, working, trying to get it fixed, he just one day went into the office of his producers after having discussed with them and Max what to do, and straight up told them like, hey, if you guys love Max so much, you give him first take.
He told them
Do you
that.
pick it?
Wow.
Do you know what? Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
That they wanted Stephen A more. There's a reason why
He
Max.
basically hit him with an ultimatum, like,
Yeah.
oh, which is insane. Like he didn't fire Max, but he didn't. Your services are no longer required. That's what he hit Max Kellerman with.
Yeah. But
Because
that's
the
so.
one thing for sure is he very much stood on the hill of like, I didn't fire him. Max Kellerman got two. He moved on to two other shows after that. Because when Stephen A got fired, I was fired. Like they didn't even let me finish out my contract. I was not on any other shows. And so I get the differential, but let's keep a spade a spade. He went up in there and told the bosses, "Hey, I don't want him here," and they got rid of him.
Yeah. I mean,
And I
again,
can see how Max might feel away. I can see how Max might feel away.
it's a cruel world we live in, man. And I feel for Max, I genuinely do. But again, it's just that thing of it's a business. And if Stephen A and ESPN both saw that their competitors were doing better, and at the time they were, Skip and Shannon were the biggest thing in sports television at the time. More people were tuning into Undisputed than they were to First Take every morning. I mean, I don't have the statistics to back that up, but me personally, I was more intrigued by what was going on with Skip and Shannon every day than I was what was going on with, the occasional, we got the Max doing that's being pointed at the earth. Who do we want taking the last shot? Give me Iguodala. Like those were just like those moments were few and far in between where I knew that I was going to get great television every time I was
And
tuning
you
into
saw
Skip
it.
and Shannon.
You saw the tension, especially during the whole election with Trump. Like, let's keep a spade a spade. Stephen A. was looked at a type of way, especially in the black community, for his stance on Colin Kaepernick and Trump, right? And Max was very much what a lot of people in our community thought as, oh, that's the way you're supposed to think. And I think whether Stephen A wants to admit it or not, I think that struck a nerve with him. Because you remember that one time Terrell Owens said that Max is acting more black than you are. And Stephen A. Smith went off on Terrell Owens.
Oh, shit. I didn't even remember that.
And
wow.
I think that Max didn't attitude. Max wasn't like, oh, yeah, I am. Like, Max kind of stood in the back and, like, knew where he stood in his place. But it's like, I think comments like that Stephen A. was getting, it rubbed him the wrong way. He ain't like that at all.
Yeah. And I can definitely see.
And like, I'm glad that he, like, you can see that he's very, like, more forthcoming with this information. So, you think Skip's gonna shoot back? I love this stuff. I love this drama between personalities. These these show wars, so to speak.
Yeah, I think Skip needs to get back into contention before he starts talking, because right now First Take is kind of back on top because they just got Shannon and Stephen A. But once Skip finds his footing with the new hosts and like with the new format of getting, I guess they're doing different people every day on Undisputed now, where Lil Wayne's coming in one day a week and they have Michael Irvin coming in another day. Once they can kind of find the right formula, I think Skip is in a position where he could also take shots at Stephen A. And I'm all for it. I think the TV is more entertaining when you can break the fourth wall and throw shots at someone else.
I love that. I
And
love that.
that's a big part of why I love wrestling too, because I mean, shit, we see it with AEW and WWE where you can't keep the other company's name out of your mouth. I mean, it's good for ratings. And I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, right? Making money, getting people to watch the product.
Exactly. Exactly.
But speaking of watching and getting the product, I think it's time to do our favorite segment.
Put you on.
Put you on. Yeah. All right. Ethan, what do we got on deck today? Do you want to do music or movies first?
We're in a music theme today, so I'm gonna do music. I'm gonna do
Okay.
music.
All right.
So, my first, it's gonna be a couple tracks. Really, it's this project by Lido, called Ultraviolet, and he's basically the producer for Jordan Ward. A bunch of tracks on Jordan Ward's album Forward, and Jordan Ward had a bunch of features on this project as well, like Honda, Your Turn, and Time to Go, which I really enjoyed. So if you like that really upbeat, cheery, kind of relaxing hip hop music, it's for you.
All right. I like it. Uh, man, there hasn't been a lot. I know we talked about Tizo last week. If you guys want to hear us talk more about the Tizo Touchdown album, we can talk about it next week. Let us know in the comments if you want to hear our full thoughts on that album. There were definitely a few tracks that I was thinking about, putting on for this, but I'm gonna take it back because I was listening to this vinyl the other day, and Axis Bold as Love by the Jimi Hendrix Experience is an awesome album. It's an old album, obviously, Jimi Hendrix, but hey, if you're into old psychedelic rock, Jimi Hendrix is the GOAT. And I'm going to go with Spanish Castle Magic. That's my song for Put You On this week by the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
All right. Well, let's move on to TV. And I'll take the reins on this one. Season 2 of Welcome to Wrexham has opened up on Hulu. Welcome to Wrexham is about Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds buying a Welsh soccer. I think they're Welsh. Yeah, Welsh soccer team, and basically trying to move them up back into the Premier League, something that they haven't done, I think, in like decades. So really fun experience. They were promoted, I think, this last season. So a whole new set of challenges, and I'm really excited to see how the season turns out. So
Me too. I'm on season one still, but I'm really slow with, like, if it's not anime or like cartoons, I'm really slow with catching up with TV shows. But I am gonna catch up soon with a bunch of TV shows. Like, I just gotta get like in the groove of it. You know what I'm saying? But for me, it has to be. I went and revisited Matt Reeves' The Batman. I haven't watched it in like since it came out. I watched it like, and it's not like no shade. I love the movie, but like, I was with some family this weekend and they were like watching all the old Nolan movies, and I'm like, oh, have you guys seen the newest one, The Batman? Like that, I think it's dope. I think it's one of the best ones. And no, so we watched it together, and I forgot how good it is. And I was watching it for like the third time, so I was able to like notice little details I didn't watch the first time. So especially too, because it's gonna be a minute till the second one comes out, because they're already writing the script with it and everything. But with the writers' strike, and actor strike still going on, it's probably not gonna come out. It's supposed to come out 2025. It's probably not gonna come out till 2026, 27.
yeah, it's gonna be a minute. And I forget about that sometimes too. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't wait for this thing to come out, and then it's the writer's strike, so we have no idea when we're gonna get some of these things. There's actually a wrestling movie that's coming out about or Zac Efron starring in a wrestling movie. I think it's called The Iron Claw or something like that. And I was really excited for it, but the writer's strike kind of threw that off. So yeah, I guess living in a world where the writers and the actors are on strike is a little difficult, but I think we can make it through. There's tons of content for us to
Yeah.
go through.
Like, are we recording?
Yeah, hey,
Tons of podcast episodes. The best podcast in
tons.
the world.
The best podcast in the world. And if you're liking this episode, please make sure to subscribe, like this video, follow us on all of our socials. We really appreciate it, and it helps the channel a lot. So, yeah. Well, Ethan, before we move on to our sports segment, because I know a lot of people tune in for our sports takes at the end of the show, we need to talk about something in our friend group, and something that has been in discussions lately. I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but how do you feel about homie hopping?
Here's the inevitable homie hopping conversation. Homie hopping is such like an intricate. It should be such a simple idea. Like, you don't mess with people that your friends mess with, but then it comes down to, well, how much did they mess with them? How much did they like them? What did they do? Like, did they go to first base, second base, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, homie hopping works as in I'm never gonna talk to a person that any of my friends have had a relationship or they've ever slept with. I don't care if Shorty's like a harlot or anything like that. Like, search up harlot. That's your word of the week. Our recording group chat. Search that up. But that's for me. Like, if it's if you're actually my friend, I'm not gonna mess with any of the girls. There's 4 or 5 billion women for me in the world. Like, I don't need to mess with one that you mess with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's the respectful thing to do. I've always been in the same boat too, of like, if one of my friends has either, like you said, either slept with them or dated them or had an extended history with a female, I'm not even gonna try it. Now
Okay,
it's
so let me.
different. Now it's different. I was gonna say, if one of our friends pulls up at a girl at a bar, a girl that none of us have ever met, and they miss, I'll go shoot my shot just because you're interested. It's fair game, exactly. Like, there isn't an extended history or anything. So
what if it's a mutual friend? Like, let's say, for example, like one of your friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I know, that I'm not friends with, but like if I see them with you, like, oh, it's what's up. Like, I dap them up, say what's up, talk to them, like we talk sport, da 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 da. But like, let's say one of your mutual friends breaks up.
Oh, okay.
With a girl.
And then you want to get at her.
Do you think it's wrong if I get at him?
No, I don't think so, because you're not friends with my friend technically. I mean, it's like a casual friendship, or like a
when I see you, it's what's up. Like, it's more of an acquaintance type thing. Yeah,
acquaintance is the perfect word. You guys aren't close enough to be like, oh damn, Ethan's getting at my girl. Nah, dude. I mean, at some point, you can't be you can't be close friends with everybody. So
I've had that happen before, because where I live, it's very Hispanic in density. And Gage, you notice these Hispanic boys, they be crashing out over their girls, or girls that's not even their girls.
Yep.
So I've had like run-ins where it's been like on that type of timing. So I get why people were sensitive. I've never been said. You've crashed out over a girl?
I've been guilty. I mean, a girl that I was dating at the time, and some guy was trying to get at her while we were dating. But I guess that's a different situation.
That's a different situation than like you guys weren't dating anymore.
Yeah,
or like
and then I get upset. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were trying to get her back, or you pissed off at her or something like that. But let me ask this. Is it kind of homie hopping if, like, let's say like a friend, not a friend's girl. All right, let's say one of the guys in the group chat, right? They mess with a girl, right? One of our friends, they mess with a girl. Like, they were never dating, but for like a month spell, they may have hooked up like once or twice. And we see them out in public and they're done. Like, they're completely done talking to each other. Are you allowed to go shoot at that person?
Depending on the nature of the relationship, like, I guess how you're explaining, I would probably talk to whoever it is, and depending on how close I am with them too. Like if it's someone like Jason or Xavier, someone I've known for, longer, we've been working together and, we just know each other a little bit better. I would probably ask them first. I would be like, hey man, like, are you guys still talking before I do it?
Yeah, because she looked good, and I'm trying to, see if
I'm
she's
trying to
for the
get
team.
it. Yeah,
Like,
I'm trying to see what's up. But yeah, I think it's common courtesy that if you're not sure, it's better to ask rather than getting at her and then causing a bunch of drama and causing a bunch of
you're not worried
problems.
about your friend's cock blocking, like telling her like, "Hey, my buddy trying to get at you." Like,
No, okay, so see that would cause another problem though, because if one of my
I would never do that because I know our friends. Our friends with 1,000% cock block, 1,000%, a
you
thousand
think so?
percent, 1,000%. They call that girl and be like, "Hey, like, if I ever catch you messing with da 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 da, like you know what type of time it is. Like, I'm really gonna let you hear it." I think
Yeah.
some of our friends, they would 1,000% do that. That's one. Two, it goes back to like, I think it's definitely allowed to a certain extent. You got to see the degree. If they're just a hookup and you trying to get like one for the team, I don't see nothing wrong with it. If that's what it is, if it's a hookup and you trying to like, hey, like throw a oop, like hee hee, like throw a oop, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. Me personally, I'm never gonna do that. Like I'm just never gonna do that. But I can understand if somebody would, and I can understand if there's problems that come with it.
All right, so Ethan, let me extend this question to you. Is there someone that you would uh throw a relationship for? Like throw away one of
Like,
your friendships for?
what do you mean? Like, would I ruin one of my friends' relationships because I wanted to get at him? Because I think
Yeah.
Shorty look good? No,
Yeah.
nah, I wouldn't do that.
No.
I would have did it.
Well, I don't think any of our friends are in relationships anyways, so I think
Nah, a couple are. A couple are. We're not
oh,
gonna say their names
hey,
because
yeah, yeah. Hey, hey.
we're not federal agents. So hey,
Hey.
so, but I mean, it's not hidden. Like you can find our friends that have relationships. None of them hiding a girl.
Yeah.
So no, but I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm an
I think
nice upstanding citizen.
see, and I think that's the thing about you and me, and I feel like this is the case for a lot of guys, is their relationships with their friends, with their homies are more important than they are with a girl that you're just trying to sleep with for one night. Or, a girl who, yeah, you're not really sure where it's gonna go. So I don't know. That's always the approach I've had. It's just better not to. There, like you said, there are 4 billion women in this world, so don't always have to mess with the ones my friends are messing with, because that's just the way to go. All right, we're here in the last couple minutes of the podcast, so let's recap the first week of the NFL season, because gosh, there was so much that happened, so many big
A
storylines.
little overwhelming to be quite honest. How many games? Like, part of me is like, all right, let's get a couple bye weeks. I don't get to see every one of these teams play. Like, Jesus.
Hey, I love it. I'm so happy football's back, but there's definitely some stuff that we need to talk about, because I think the first one, this was the big story because it was the primetime game, last game of the week, and everyone was really looking forward to Buffalo versus the New York Jets. And then Aaron Rodgers goes out for his first drive, hands it to Breece Hall, I think once, and then the next play right after that tears his Achilles. And I feel for Aaron Rodgers, man.
I
Like
feel
more
for
than
him. Even
anything.
though I hate that sorry son of a bitch. I feel for him,
No, I feel for him. I feel for the Jets. And honestly, I feel for NFL fans, because that was a game. And in the long term, that was a game. And the Jets were a team that a lot of NFL fans were excited to see, even if you weren't a Jets fan like me. Uh, I thought the Jets were going to take a huge step. And now, with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, their whole season trajectory ends. A team that we could have seen win the Super Bowl. And by the way, uh, the Jets still won that game even without Aaron Rodgers. If you didn't watch, because Josh Allen is
a fraud.
a
That my take is aged like
hey.
fine wine. I try to tell y'all ain't want to
I
listen.
won't go as far to say he's a fraud, but he was making some boneheaded decisions. He threw 3 interceptions and had that fumble that was all his fault. It had nothing to do with the center or a handoff or anything. It was just him. And honestly, I'm surprised he didn't get more hate for that because it looked scarily similar to the Mark Sanchez butt fumble.
Really similar. It looked really similar. He got away with murder with that one. I still think he gets away with murder with it. Like, sports personalities are all over the world. They cared more about Dak's interceptions in practice than they did Josh Allen's interception. Practice?
We're talking about practice?
Bro, they cared more about Dak's interceptions in practice than Josh Allen's interceptions in an actual game that cost them actual, like, credibility. Like, oh, like, it drives me insane. Don't get me wrong. I get, like, I'm preaching to the choir. We all get it. Like, the Cowboys run football discourse, but it's insane. It's insane to see it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Josh Allen bounces back because turnovers have definitely been a problem for him. And now they're becoming more. Back then, it was the good was enough to outweigh the bad. Where like, okay, we'll take the turnovers because he's scoring 5, 6, 7 touchdowns a game and leading the offense. But when you're not scoring that many points and the turnovers are becoming more and more prevalent in every game and they're becoming just a little bit more like
he's playing too much. He has that bonehead
hero ball.
He's playing too much hero ball. And that is, don't get me wrong, there is onus on the Bills, right? There is onus on the Bills because it's a team sport. Wins and losses is not just a quarterback stat. It's a team stat. Like, they don't have a run game. They haven't had a run game for 4 or 5 years. Like, they don't have one.
Yeah.
The defense keeps getting hurt. Like, they're not making it easier on him. But at the same time, we knew this. People knew this. The audience, y'all knew this when y'all made them Super Bowl contenders. Audience, y'all knew this when y'all said that Josh Allen was the second or third best quarterback in football. When he's not. He's never been. He's never been top 5. Not in this world, not in the next.
Week 1 is the perfect time for overreactions, I think. And I think a lot of people are overreacting in the sense that I've seen people say that Josh Allen shouldn't be a top 10 quarterback. I don't think we are at that point yet. If he keeps playing like he has been, that is a conversation that could happen if he just isn't scoring and he's throwing more picks than he is doing anything else. But at this point in time, we are not there. And another guy we need to talk about who I think people are way overreacting about too is Joe Burrow. Because
he played like a stink ball.
He had statistically and eye test wise his worst game of his career. I'm not here to give him excuses, but there are some things to take into account. They were playing in Cleveland. They were playing in horrible conditions. The Cleveland defense is going to be a top 5 defense when it's all said and done because Myles Garrett
this year, I think so,
relentless, and Denzel Ward was locked down. The Browns defense is for real. And you add on that Joe Burrow was dealing with an injury and didn't play throughout the preseason.
I don't want to hear that.
Hey, I'm just saying he didn't have snaps in the preseason.
None of these quarterbacks had these snaps in the preseason.
Hey, that's not necessarily true. There are guys who at least played a few drives in the last game. Joe Burrow.
You didn't see Pat Mahomes play no drives in preseason. You ain't see Josh Allen play no drives. You ain't see Aaron Rodgers. You ain't seen Dak.
You did see Aaron Rodgers.
You did. Oh, yeah. Well, that's because he was on a new team. But you didn't see Lamar Jackson play any drives. Like, come on. We know this. Ever since they took the fourth preseason game away, ever since they took the fourth preseason game away, quarterback play, especially the first 2 or 3 weeks of the NFL season, is always shaky.
Yep.
But I'm with you. Joe Burrow played terrible, and he deserves to get credited. Because, again, if this was Dak or Lamar, we'd be asking if their backup quarterback should be really the one starting.
Well, that's the problem, too, is that Cincinnati just paid him this huge contract, and there are people saying, like, oh, he's not worth that kind of money. Let's look at statistically how they've done against the Browns, too. The Browns, historically, against Joe Burrow, have had his number. I don't think he has beaten the Cleveland Browns once since he's been a Cincinnati Bengal. So I just don't think it is fair to say, oh, he's not worth that money because of one loss. It's a long season. And again, Cleveland is going to be one of the tougher teams, one of the teams that no one wants to see defensively because of that pass rush, because of that secondary. So
Miles Garrett. I know in a couple years when we do our not too early award predictions around week 5 or week 6, like I said, I think Micah Parsons was the front runner in the preseason. Miles Garrett's going to give him a run for his money. Miles
Hey,
Garrett is going to give him a run for his money on that one.
that's another one that I think we will probably get to
And a
well, I
couple
guess
weeks down the
hey,
line, a couple weeks down the line.
yeah, for sure. But I guess another team that I want to talk about because this was another big story, another overreaction for the other side. Let's talk about the Cowboys and the Giants because the Cowboys absolutely embarrassed the Giants on Sunday Night Football, and I have a my bad to do live on the podcast.
Our listeners, you listening right now? I'm whipping ass right now, metaphorically and physically. Oh my gosh!
All right, but Ethan, I gotta say it's a my bad, man. Not that I doubted the Cowboys defense, but damn, I did not expect them to be like as dominant as they looked. And obviously, it all starts with Micah Parsons. He is a beast, probably a top 3 most impactful defensive player in the entire league.
Can we? When you done, I'm gonna go. I mean, this is my team, so I'm not gonna go too far because.
So, in terms of the overreaction, I think a lot of people are going to say that the Giants are going to be a bottom 10 team now. Giants are bad, but they're not that bad. They were going against a very good Dallas defense, and sometimes you just have those kind of games.
Exactly, and they're going up against a quarterback in Dak that Dak didn't play lights out.
He didn't have to.
Dak doesn't lose to the Giants. He doesn't lose to the Giants. He hasn't lost to them since his they did double on him his rookie year.
Yep.
So, like I said, I'm extremely proud of what we did. That's not going to be the only game that we do that to a team this year. We'll play the Jets this Sunday, and we could very well, even though the Jets defense is better overall than the Giants defense, there's certain aspects that we can definitely exploit. The Giants D-line is better than the Jets D-line. And if the Cowboys offensive line was able to handle that, I think the question comes down to the secondary. The matchup I'm excited to see, CD and Sauce. CD and Sauce. So I think CD, but I think the benefit goes to CD, and we'll see this Sunday, or when this will come out, we'll have already known what happened. But CD can play in the slot. If CD has Sauce to come dance with him in the slot, I don't know if it's gonna be a long day for Sauce. But yeah, I'm extremely excited. I don't think the Giants are bad. I think they were definitely overinflated. The Giants got a little better, minuscule better, like not that much better than last season, but I think they got better. But also, the Cowboys are a legit Super Bowl contender. I know Gage that's a Super Bowl roster, contending roster.
They definitely are.
That's a top 4 roster in the NFL.
Especially defensively.
That's the best. I think that's the best defensive football.
My biggest thing with y'all, my biggest problem with the Cowboys, and I think I've said it from the beginning, is the O-line depth and coaching. I've gone on record very many times saying that I'm not a believer in Mike McCarthy. So I guess we'll just have to see how that plays out. But in terms of talent, you're 100% correct. The Dallas Cowboys have some of the best skilled players in football in
how good Trayvon Diggs and Stephon Gilmore look together.
Woo! That's a scary secondary, dude. And you guys don't even have like names.
We were missing our number one corner, our number one safety in Donovan Wilson, and DeMar Overshawn, who was supposed to be our second linebacker. He was out for the whole year. And the guys that came in, Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell, names Gage. If you watch Cowboys games this year, you're gonna hear their names a lot. Yeah. They hooped that Giants in. Wanye is the guy that got the blocked the field goal and forced one of the fumbles. So as a Cowboys fan, like I said, little by little, but I have high expectations. This Giants win is cool. I always like beating a divisional opponent, but this really don't move me. Like, there's certain games I have on my calendar. The 2 games in Philly, against Philly, the 49ers game in 3 weeks.
Yep.
Those are the games that I'm looking at.
Honestly, this Jets game before Aaron Rodgers too was one I also had circled for the Cowboys.
I think we would have still beat them because that Jets line is bad, boy. And Gage, I get it. Like, if we're not the best defensive football, we're top 2, us and the Niners. But Aaron Rodgers, boy, not saying he would have got hurt, but he would have got destroyed out there, in my opinion.
He would have had a rough day. He would have had a rough day.
And I've been talking a lot about the defense. So quickly, because it's not just the Cowboys show, I want to give a shout out to the Cowboys offense. This is our first game Dak has played with a new coordinator in Brian Schottenheimer and Mike McCarthy calling the plays, and I liked it. I think it was very much a really good blend of conservative play calling and aggressive play calling, because you see if that Kellerman in this situation, he might have tried to run up the score with Dak.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy was like, all right, we'll try. The tight ends was dropping balls in the red zone. Dak was missing a couple throws, a little rusty. And Mike McCarthy was like, cool, we'll just run the ball. Turpin got a touchdown. Pollard got 2. They saw the game out. That's all I ask. That's all I ask from Mike McCarthy this year and Dak. The defense is the strength of the team, right? There's going to be games where you're going to have to scheme, because in the post-game press conference, our OC talked about, hey, we really didn't use a lot of the plays we wanted to try out because the game, luckily for our defense, was done already. And we're going to save those plays for the Jets. I think this Jets defense is legit too. So for the Cowboys offense, this is reverse. I think the defense can do no problem with Zach Wilson and Garrett Wilson and the boys. But Dak and the boys, it's your first test. The Giants defense is not no scrubs, but you're kind of playing with house money. You was up 13 before the defense, before y'all really took the field. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this Jets defense, I think the theme of this year is, can Dallas's offense, which I think I know the answer to, can Dallas's offense, when the game's required, can they get to 20 plus points? If they can do that, I have no doubt in my mind the Cowboys are going to win 10 plus games this year.
I could see it. Definitely in a weaker conference too. And like we've talked about already, just a very talented roster. So excited to see what happens in that division too. But Ethan, before we end off this conversation, before we end the podcast,
come on, we gotta talk about your team. Come on, I know you're excited about Jordan Love. I'm not ready to say I'm wrong yet, but he played a solid game against the Bears. I don't feel shit for the Bears either.
Yeah, so see, I obviously was confident going into the game. I hate the Bears as a Packers fan, and that's obvious. But there was some concern. I was a little worried about what Jordan Love was going to look like in his first start as the guy for the Packers, especially going into the game without Christian Watson too. There were concerns, and defensively too. I didn't know if they were going to be able to contain the run game of Justin Fields. I knew he wasn't going to be able to throw it because he's a scrub, but hey, the Packers impressed me on all phases. The special teams didn't mess up. We actually have a good returner now in Jaden Reed, who we drafted this year. The defense did its job, contained Justin Fields on the ground, and tried to make him throw it, and he made a lot of mistakes. But like you said, most importantly, it was about Jordan Love, and I was just very impressed, and I'm happy with the progress he's taken. He looks very calm, very confident. He looks like a cool, calm, collected quarterback, and that's really all I wanted to see from him, and I'm just excited to see where he can go from here and against Atlanta this next week.
No, Jordan Love plays solid. I'm surprised Matt LaFleur kind of opened the playbook for him in his first game. You know what I'm saying? Not first, but you get what I'm trying to say. In the season opener against the Bears, a division round. No, the Bears was hyped. I know they heartbroken now, but they was hyped before the game.
No Christian Watson either. That's a big weapon that you're missing. And Jordan he looked confident. He looked calm. Like even though he didn't have calm was
the big thing. Like I noticed he was very much like he didn't do nothing crazy, but he didn't have to. He got the touchdowns early. The second half, gave it to his playmakers. Aaron Jones went nuts in the second half. So we'll see. We'll see how he handles the season.
Jordan Love is going to prove a lot of people wrong. I think he is someone that I think for some reason even Packers fans were against him, weren't rooting for him, didn't see the talent for some reason. But I'm just excited to see what he continues to do and how he continues to prove the doubters wrong. But before we finally close it out, I just want to talk about the rookie quarterbacks real quick because I got to say, I was also very impressed by Anthony Richardson and that Shane Steichen Colts offense because there were a lot of concerns about Anthony Richardson as a prospect coming into the league. And while not every question was answered for Anthony Richardson on Sunday, I definitely left that game feeling confident in his skill set in that offense. And I think with the right coaching, which it seems like he has, and the right development, he could become a very good player. And the only thing that I just want to see from the rest of the year from him right now is be smart when taking hits, because he took a bad hit in the fourth quarter.
At the end of the game, he took a
At the
bad
very
hit.
end of the game, he took that bad hit. Gardner Minshew came in, and those are just the kind of things I want him to realize. Like, he doesn't have to take those hits. If he's going to be the franchise guy, he can't afford to be taking those franchise hits, because I think Anthony Richardson is a guy who can win you football games. He has that kind of talent. So it's just a matter of staying healthy, being a smart football player, and sometimes just knowing when to slide down. Don't take the hit.
I'm with you. And you saw Trevor Lawrence speak to him after the game, like, hey, man, you played good, but some of those hits you do not need to take. They add up fast. These are grown men that's hitting you. Like, they add up fast. And I like Anthony Richardson. I think he played really well, in his first game. I was a little disappointed in Bryce Young. He put only really one good drive together, but it's going to be a rough season for him. That Panthers offense is now looking...
No weapons.
Killed back there. He was killed back there. I thought Adam Thielen and DJ Chark were going to help him out. It's not looking too good, to be quite honest. So
they have no run game either. And it is definitely going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season for CJ Stroud too. I think a lot of Texans fans were expecting them to be better than I think a lot of Texans, or than a lot of people outside of the Texans fan base thought that they were going to be. But let's just be realistic here. They're still a really young team. They've got a lot of moving pieces, and we saw it. CJ Stroud was under pressure the entire day. Like, I don't think he had one clean pocket the entire game. And it's a growing pain. You're playing against the Ravens too, who have one of the better defenses in the league, and are well coached. So I think Houston and the Panthers are going to figure it out. It's too early to call either one of those guys bust or anything of that nature. But yeah, is there, I guess, another game or anything else that you want to talk about?
Nah, man, this is going to be recorded. Like I said, we're recording on a Thursday, so the games were already passed. So let us know your guys' reactions to week 1 and week 2 in the comments down below.
Yeah, predictions for week 2. If you guys have any predictions for the rest of the season too. If there's a team that we didn't talk about and you want to hear us talk about on next week's episode, let us know. But besides that, I think that's going to do it.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. It's been two of the coldest co-hosts in co-host history. 007, a.k.a. Big Freeze, a.k.a. AC, a.k.a. Alex Caruso, a little Tanner, Mr. Gage Sutton, and you already know who it is, Big Sex, live and direct, Mr. 5 for 5 in Pure Temptation, the one and only, the godson, Mr. Young Rottweiler, Ethan Hamilton.
He's still going.
This has been I know, I'm murdering this. With another episode of the Our Recording Podcast. Please like and subscribe and comment down below. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Show support. Join the group chat. We got a Twitter community that we tweet in there pretty regularly. So come join us. We're in there talking all the time. But yeah, thank you guys. It's been a blast. Shout out Gage, great episode. And that'll be it. Peace.